Everyone, welcome back for another Not Too Shabby Shop Design Team project. Today I'm sharing this sweet slimline card featuring the Tea with Mom stamp set, which was part of the April Box of the Month release. The April Box of the Month has sold out. Here is a look at the stamp set that I'm using. If you have this Box of the Month, this will bring you a little bit of inspiration. I'm going to begin by masking. I wanted to share a technique that I use to help me create single layer cards. Now I am going to do some paper layering, but basically my scene is going to be a single layer, and I'm starting with some masks. I typically do not buy masking paper. I do have some, but I typically don't buy it, and I use post-it notes for the most part. Here I'm cutting out that little teapot. This post-it note does have a completely sticky backside, so it works perfectly. For me, it's a lot less expensive to use the post-it notes. You do you, use what you have, but for me, masking paper is just not a necessity. I am a terrible fussy cutter. I've talked about this in many videos, so my masks are not perfect, which is why the technique that I'm sharing in this video is important to share for those of you that are like me, that aren't great fussy cutters, that are terrified by single layer cards because you just never get your masks cut correctly. I wanted to show you a trick that you can use, a tool that you can have in your arsenal that will really help you with color correction. I'm beginning by laying out my scene. You'll notice that I'm a little bit more overlapped than I end up being in my final card. I wanted to see which images were going to be in the forefront, and of course the teapot was the first and foremost piece that I needed to stamp on this piece of cardstock. This is Accent Opaque 110-pound cardstock. I chose not to use my Copic friendly paper, which is Copic Express It, because this was sitting on my desk and it was going to work with a slimline card. Now that I've stamped my teapot, I am going to add my mask over the top of it. I'm going to flank the left and the right side with the tort and with the tray of goodies. I didn't overlap as much as I normally would. If you were to put this on an A2 size card, you would definitely be squishing things together just a little bit more. So I have just the slightest bit of overlapping on these, and I'm going to just add the masks back to each of the images. So for the tray of goodies, I did off camera cut a mask out. It's out of white copy paper, and I added some double-sided adhesive to the back of it. I didn't add it to the top, and you're going to see that I am going to get just a little bit of lifting, and that was just user error. That was my fault. So here I have everything masked off. I need to cut my panel out first, so I'm using an Anna Griffin slimline die. This is the second largest of the dies, and I'll run it through my die cutting machine. This is the Anna Griffin Empress Mini. If you're looking for a mini machine, I do have a video in my list of videos where I do a review on this one. I keep it on the side of my desk and I absolutely love it. I'm going to begin my ink blending. So there is a mask on each of my images, and I'm going to begin by using some squeezed lemonade, a little bit of Kitsch Flamingo, and this isn't perfect ink blending. I'm really not working at this, to be quite honest with you. I'm simply laying the color down. I could have done a better job of ink blending, and I just didn't. So this was just a quick and easy card. You do you. If you want, you know, to really work at that ink blending and get those beautiful seamless blends, this just wasn't the card that I was really worried about having that seamless blend. I wanted those bright, bold colors in the background. I'm going to make a mistake right here. Do as I say and not as I do. Make sure that you close the ink pad that you are not using. As you can see, my hand went over to the blue Distress Oxide ink pad. That is Salty Ocean. The pink is Kitsch Flamingo. Because these are Distress Oxides and they are a bit more opaque, I was able to add some color over the top of it, but because the blue is stronger than the pink, I wasn't able to erase it completely. If I had a lighter color that I dipped my brush into, it probably would have worked. This is always the fun part. I'm going to do the reveal right here, and I'm going to start lifting up my masks. You can see how well that Post-it tape is really sticking. I didn't add anything to the back of it, so it does stay down really well. And then I am going to color my images off camera. I chose to do that just for the sake of time. I wanted to share the blender pen. The Dove blender pen was really what I was focusing on for this video. So once I get these masks off, I'll come back and we are going to do a little bit of die cutting using a pink piece of cardstock and the larger of the two of the Anna Griffin dies. So I'll bring my die cutting machine back in. I have this beautiful pink paper. I'll run it through. You'll notice I'm creating a frame, and that's so that I can preserve the center of this panel and I can use it on another project and not waste my cardstock. So I'm going to have that little outer frame for layering, and that is what my colored panel is going to go on top of. Here is the Dove blender solution and the pen. You can fill the pen. I typically just dip mine in, and I'm adding that squeezed lemonade, and I'm using this as a coloring pencil, and I'm just adding that squeeze lemonade to the areas of the mask that I didn't cut out, and you're never gonna know that this wasn't blended at the same time. I'll do the same thing with the Kitsch Flamingo. I'm going to add it to the inside of the handle of the teapot. There are areas on the left and the right side of these teacups where my mask was either not laid down properly or I just didn't cut it perfectly on the line, and this allows me to correct those white spaces, blend a little bit of that Distress Oxide, and you'll never know that I didn't cut a perfect mask. So please don't be afraid to do masking. Once you do it and commit to it, you really enjoy the process. As I mentioned, I'm a terrible fussy cutter, but because I do have this help with the Dove blender pen, I'm not as afraid as I used to be of the fussy cutting. All right, we're going to move along, and I'm going to add some Barely Art glue to the back of my panel, and I'm going to attach this to that pink frame right over the top. And then I do have a yellow top folding card base. This Anna Griffin die was a little bit, it wasn't the exact measurements of a slimline, so it was 8 3/4 by I believe like 3.5 or something like that. So I did end up cutting my panel down to match that, so I had a 1/4 inch all the way around the edges. So I believe my finished card is going to be 9 by 3 3/4, and I'll center that on there. And of course we need to add our sentiment. I am using an older, not too shabby shop stamp set that's called Sprinkled with Love. I really adore this sentiment. It says, "I love cookies and cupcakes, but nothing sweeter than you." I like the sentiments that were in the Tea with Mom stamp set, but they were short and small, and I wanted something that was a little bit longer that was going to balance out my card, and so this sentiment worked perfectly. I did practice with a piece of acetate to make sure that everything was lined up the way that I wanted it to be, and then of course I added my VersaFine black onyx ink to ink my stamp. I wanted to add a little bit of stickles. I'll add it to the center of each of the macarons. I'm also going to add it to the top of each of my cupcakes. And then finally, I will use some Pink Fresh Studio yellow jewels, and I'm going to add some jewels to my card, and that will complete my card for today. The box of the month, as I mentioned earlier, for April is sold out. The new box will be released on May 1st. Let me tell you, it is just as cute as this box was. If you're not a subscriber to the box of the month, please make sure that if you want a box of the month that you do become a subscriber. Not only do you receive an additional discount on the box, but you're guaranteed the box of the month reaches your doorstep. These boxes on many of the months do sell out really quickly, and once they're gone, they're gone. The stamp sets are not reproduced. The any of the papers are not reproduced. So if you want to guarantee yourself getting that box of the month, I will have a link in the description box below that you can use. That will complete my card for today. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.